Bonjour. Je m'appelle Wes Tyrell. I'm the president of the Association of Canadian Cartoonists, and we'd like to welcome you to our little gallery of COVID-19 cartoons here at Le Festival Million Visages de la Caricature. These are cartoons that were created during the COVID pandemic from the members of the association from coast to coast to coast, in English and in French. We're going to move along and we'll give you a small sampling of what Canadian cartoonists have to say about COVID. Our colleague working with us on this is Monsieur Pierre Skilling. Hello, Pierre. Pierre is very small, so he can't say hello today. Our first cartoon is from the famed Montreal cartoonist Serge Chapleau, showing the president of China dispensing his gifts to the world of COVID. Very exciting. Here we have Jeff Burney from Gatineau, Quebec, and showing Mr. Old Time COVID with Mr. New and Easy COVID. Monsieur Cote from Quebec has done a very, very charming cartoon showing the classic motif of the man stranded on the desert island, and he's thinking to himself, by God, I'm not getting on that cruise ship anytime soon. Tim Snyder from Prince Edward County in Ontario is a very charming young man, and he's created a very popular motif of the wave cartoon. This has been used by many cartoonists, but his effort to show that people in the initial gatherings of 2020 were perilously close to infecting each other and causing more trouble by socializing too close to one another without masks. Andy Donato, famed cartoonist of the Toronto Sun. Andy's been with us since the 1960s. He's very well known in Toronto, and I think all the panhandlers are very unhappy with him because he's intimating here that if you are a panhandler, I'll get money from you by coming up and perhaps kissing you or touching you and giving you my cooties, which may or may not contain the COVID virus. Patrick Corrigan from the Toronto Star, demonstrating the bravery of Dr. Tam, Canada's main medical officer, who has endured lots of problems from a skeptical press or public. Graham Mackay, our esteemed colleague from the Hamilton Spectator, has drawn something that has unfortunately and sadly been an issue from coast to coast in Canada. The long-term care home, otherwise known as the old folks home, has been a national disgrace. Thousands of old people have died, our loved ones neglected, and too late to the game, Canadian forces were distributed throughout the country to try and mend the problem. A very, very sad and poignant cartoon. Tom Chitty, very charming cartoon, showing us how we're going to get through this by creating our own interesting distance and hygiene devices. Don Mockler, good friend from New Brunswick, very charming cartoon, also with the very appropriate garment of the day, garment du jour, social distance wear, may also involve a ballet costume or tutu or some sort of petticoat to keep the people at a reasonable distance. Serge Metivier, very funny fellow from Quebec, and he is also riffing on the keep away 2 meters concept. Dan Murphy, formerly of Vancouver, longtime cartoonist, is now an international man of mystery, traveling from country to country and occasionally offering us these gems, including the new guide to sex, the COVID Sutra, how to sexually please one another but from a social distance. Brian Gable, longtime cartoonist from the Globe and Mail, taking a little bit of a different approach to the Romeo and Juliet story. The Montreal Gazette's famed cartoonist Aislinn, aka Terry Mosher, was one of the first to jump on the idea that, oh boy, we can't have enough of the hand sanitizer. In fact, it became almost a scarcity, which is demonstrated by Guy Badeau of Gatineau. Purell, Lord knows how much money they made over this conundrum, but it became an issue when people, including myself, this humble narrator, would go to the store and be unable to buy either Purell hand sanitizer, a reasonable facsimile, or Lord knows, even a simple roll of toilet paper. Betty, our good caricature friend from France, has demonstrated a couple getting married and having to adjust their new lives with the ever known and ever uncomfortable medical mask. Dale Cummings, longtime cartoonist from the Winnipeg Free Press in Manitoba. Nobody better than Dale at pointing out that the devil, or in this case, the skeleton death man, is always ready for you. Monsieur Malouin, a cartoonist from Quebec, making a bit of a take on the medical brochure, giving us advice from Mr. Handy Doctor. Boris, aka Jacques Goldstein, very charming cartoonist for the Montreal Gazette, showing a lovely young coronavirus. It's bad. It's a nasty and horrible thing, but perhaps it pales in comparison to the virus of racism and bigotry, which has unfortunately infected mankind. Graham Mackay, again from Hamilton, fabulous cartoon showing the second COVIDiot wave, i.e. COVID idiot. Sadly, our world is filled with people who are skeptical about COVID to this day, and they themselves are massive spreaders of not only stupidity, but the virus. Jeff Coates, a new member from British Columbia, demonstrating what we've all experienced, the unpleasant, sad nature is upon us once again, vision of outside. But as we all lived through lockdown, we were unable to go out and enjoy it to our heart's content. Yves Demare. Yves Demare is famed in the Mélèon Visage army. He has demonstrated grace and skill in manufacturing all the devices and layouts for the festival, but also terrific caricatures of millions of different celebrities in Quebec culture. Sue Dewar is one of the only women cartoonists, unfortunately, in our group, but she is famous here in Toronto, in the Toronto Sun, for decades, doing her own cheeky take on individuals, particularly women, up to perhaps a new approach on how to handle COVID, just letting it all hang out. We love Sue very much. Brian Gable again from the Globe and Mail. I personally endorse this because being a shaggy-haired man, I think everyone should let their hair grow, let it all hang out, we say here at the ACC. Graham Harrop, another take on the haircut from British Columbia. There's all kinds of choices you can have when you sit down and attempt to cut your own hair. Difficult times. Boris from the Gazette, riffing strongly on the great Japanese artist Hokusai. Michael Deatter, famed cartoonist from Halifax, demonstrating the idiocy that was the Trump presidency as he's trying to tell Mr. Fauci, the chief medical officer of the United States, the time-honored child in the back of the car, are we there yet? Motif. Deatter again, very poignant cartoon. The New York Times offered the front page for all the thousands and thousands of Americans who had already died. Here is Trump showing his complete indifference to his fellow citizens. Bruce McKinnon, another famed Nova Scotia cartoonist. Again, what can you say? Trump was a failure. Don't know the... Oh, hold on. It's me, Wes Tyrell, your humble narrator, doing a cartoon on those ridiculous Donald Trump COVID briefings that we were all subjected to. In this cartoon, he has created his own academy where he tells other world leaders how to use the Trump technique to brief people on ridiculous Trump COVID information. Malcolm Mays from Edmonton. Edmonton cartoons often involve the oil industry and just as often poke fun and more at the Prime Minister. Tim Snyder has done a wonderful riff on the Sunday traditional American cartoon page that we all grew up on in our newspapers. Our own esteemed Mélion Visage president, Robert Lafontaine, very powerful cartoon demonstrating the wrecking ball of COVID and what it is capable of doing to our democracy. Our societies are at risk to this day as we see that people politicize the entire COVID experience and not treat it as a health care emergency. Monsieur Cote doing a beautiful cartoon showing the world as a COVID spore with the Little Prince. A great friend to the ACC, Mario Lacroix from Quebec, with his Cupid delivering his arrow of hope in the form of the vaccine. Scott Johnson of Aurora, Ontario, sharing with us the fact that yes, you may even be a monster, but you still need to wear a mask. David Parkins, also of the Globe and Mail, showing something from last summer when people were finally able to open up the doors and escape to cottage country and perhaps bringing the COVID spores with them. Well, there we have it. A small treat demonstrating the great cartoonists of the Association of Canadian Cartoonists. If you'd like to see more, please go to Google and type in Association of Canadian Cartoonists. There are thousands of cartoons online for you to enjoy. We'd like to thank you for joining us here, and we wish you a lovely day.